Hi, my name is Amy Whitby, team trainer here at Teeth Tomorrow. We put together a video of the questions that we get most asked. These are the best ways to handle new patient leads, internal and external marketing, and also what to look out for when vetting a marketing company. When a patient connects with your office, that is the first touch they have at finding out if that's going to be the proper dental home for them. It is going to be super important that a series of questions are asked to the patient to see if you fit their lifestyle and they fit yours. Patients want to make sure that you have what they need, that they could trust you, and that you're going to be the right office for them. When the phone call initially rings, you want to make sure that Steve answers the phone on the first ring, Tracy answers the phone on the second ring, and I get the phone on the third ring. If there has to be a fourth ring, that would then turn over to the call center. When a patient calls your office and the phone rings more than a few times, they'll most likely hang up and find another location. One of the main challenges I find with dental practices is how their phones are initially answered. I don't think people realize that a patient can feel and hear when you're bothering them. So if you answer the phone with, "Thank you for calling Teeth Tomorrow. This is Amy," the patient can feel that I'm not happy to receive their call. Or if I change it and say, "Thank you for calling Teeth Tomorrow. This is Amy. How may I help you?" That's going to change the patient's feeling with how they communicate with me. And if I hear on the other end of the line that the patient definitely is scared or not happy to talk to me, it's going to change my tone, because if I match their tone, then we stay in the same level. If I come off to the patient as being too excited when they're calling me in pain, that also can turn off a patient. It will be very important for you to show the patient that you have empathy and concern for their situation. When your office answers the phone, it will be important for them to use a telephone information sheet. This is a sheet we could help you create, or you may already have one in place and it just needs to be fine-tuned. It is going to be very important to have systems in place, and one of those systems would be scripting. You do not want your team to read a script directly word for word. You want it to just flow naturally based on the patient's initial question. You may want to say, "How long has that been a concern for you? What concerns do you have for the doctor?" You want to make sure that the call center and the office can handle both of these situations the exact same way. When Steve answers the phone, it will be important that he finds out if he's able to help the patient. So what he's going to do is ask the patient their name, try to gain control of the call right away, find out what the patient's needs are, and then he'll put the patient on hold and say, "Tracy's the person in our office that handles all of our implant questions. Would it be okay if I placed you on a brief hold? Connect with her and she can help you from there." It's very important that the patient feels a proper handoff so they don't have to keep repeating themselves every time they talk to somebody different in your office. You'll want to ask patients questions like, "What concerns do you have for the doctor?" Once they answer the question, it would be time for you to prompt them with the next series of questions. What insurance might you have? Do we have time constraints that we need to focus on? So if you find out that your patient's getting married in 2 months, they're going to be a priority to get them in and make sure all their needs are met. You can ask them, "Do you have a specific day and time in mind?" And you can tell me, "Have you ever had any type of experiences at the dental practice that may have caused fear? And can you tell me more about that?" So when you ask them leading questions and try to find out a deeper level, you're going to be able to treat them in a different way. You're going to know that the patient maybe needs to be in a private suite. So this way they don't hear noises going on outside the office or around their appointment time. You want to make sure that the patient comes back rather than go hide for another 5 years due to fear. You can ask them, with everything that we've talked about today, is there anything else that I missed? Do you have any other questions that I could go over with the doctor prior to your visit? All of these things will make that patient gain rapport with your team right away and trust you and know you're the right fit for them. When you find out a patient has fear, the best thing you can tell them is, in your office, we make sure that the patients are comfortable from the start of their appointment till the end. And we make sure that they don't hear anything, they don't feel anything, and they get to just take a nice gentle nap, wake up, and it's all over. Those are the benefits to coming to your practice, is it's done in one state-of-the-art facility with having one doctor, and all their needs are met under the comforts of sedation. Having one person in your office be the direct liaison to that patient is also a key benefit. If they call your office and they ask directly to speak with that person can be the one factor that calms them down and keeps them coming back. Then they'll refer their friends and family, and it's a win-win for everyone. The best way for your team to handle anything that has to do with price is to tell the patient that, unfortunately, without us meeting you and having the doctor do a complete examination, it's impossible for me to quote fees over the phone. I won't even know if that's the correct treatment for you, let alone what that fee would be. Once you meet our doctor with a complimentary consultation, he then can do necessary x-rays and an exam to find out what best suits your lifestyle, your needs, and your budget. When using and choosing a call center, it's going to be very important that they act as a direct extension to your office. This way, the patient never will know that when I pick up the phone at the call center that I don't work in your location. What they're going to do is ask the patient a series of questions and tell the patient, would it be okay if I put you on a brief hold? At that time, the call center is going to call your office and ask if they could directly connect you to the patient. They're going to hand off to you just the way it would happen in your office from team member to team member. They will tell you the patient's name, what their concerns are, what their insurance is if they have any, and telling you that the patient wants to come in today or tomorrow. So this way, when you get on the phone with the patient, you could do a quick recap, making sure you have everything correct. And then the patient right away establishes that rapport and knows that your office is 100% on point with what they're talking about. You're going to want to choose a call center that will try to connect with you during business hours all day long, making sure you don't ever lose an important patient. After hours, you would set up parameters with them. So if a patient called and said, I'm in pain, or I would like to have dental implants, they would call either the person on call, which could be a team member, or the doctor, and state to the doctor that I have Mr. Smith on the phone. He sounds really eager to start dental implant treatment. Would you like to connect with him now? Or should I just take down his information and send it to the office to connect with him in the morning? This way, no matter what, you get to choose what's important to your practice and what's important to your patients. We have found from different studies and just hearing from teams across the United States, the longer you wait to call a patient back, you most likely will not be able to get a hold of them within a few weeks and sometimes even months. When you use a company that's able to record the phone calls, there's a series of things that happens with that. Number one, you definitely know by tracking your marketing where the lead's coming from. So this way, you know that that ad is working and it's getting traffic, it's getting attention. Number two, when you listen to a call, it opens up training opportunities. You can sit down with your team and say, how could we better have handled this call? Or you could literally teach them and role play together why answering the phone this way is how our office handles the protocol and makes the patients feel comfortable. We're able to build trust, rapport, gather the patient's wants and needs, and then they understand why it's super important to use the patient's name a few times during the call and also have a recap at the end so the patient knows when they're coming in, what day, what doctor they're going to see, how long they'll be there, and also they know how to get there. A CRM is a customer relations management software. Anytime a patient calls into your office, it's automatically going to put them into this CRM. It'll be your team's job to funnel them through across the board. And what that means is you could set up patient called into your office and you could see their information on their window. Once you reach them, you would move them over to the next column, knowing that you scheduled their appointment, you connected with them. Or you could set up another column stating that you were unable to reach the patient. And then you'll know once you call that patient in that row 3 times, then you'll put them into the funnel. And what they do when they go into the funnel is then you'll send them a series of emails until you're able to reach them. It will go all the way across based on your wants, needs, and desires for your office, all the way to the end patient completed appointment, and you can also attach a fee to it. Attaching the fee to their treatment plan is going to show you what leads have worked, where they came from and where you can actually improve your marketing or maybe go back in and refine your marketing. A CRM solution is a great benefit to practices because it actually takes some of the stress off of your team. And it also helps you to be able to keep track of those lost leads. One of the features that we love most is the persona. Whenever you put a patient into a persona, you know whether the patient wants to come in for just your comprehensive services, that's just going to be cleaning and exam. You know if a patient wants to come in for restorative services, implant services, and or sedation. When you pick the wrong persona, you're going to nurture those patients with the wrong emails. So it is crucial for your team to make sure that if I call in and tell you that I want to be an implant patient, you're going to put me into that persona so that you could send me all the information relating to dental implants. You can nurture patients that way to gain better education. So before they even meet you, they already understand what is a dental implant, how can it suit my needs, and why is it a better benefit than over a dental bridge. Let's keep in mind that if a patient says that I'm in pain in my tooth and my tooth hurts, the patient may need just a crown on that tooth. So we would put them under restorative services. But once the patient comes in and the doctor says, unfortunately, he's not able to save that tooth, you're going to want to make sure to update that patient's persona to an implant persona. So again, it's going to be key that your team asks the right questions to the patient in order to tag them properly. Whenever you're trying to reach a patient that you weren't able to get a hold of initially, you're going to want to call them once a day for about 3 days. I would say once you've tried 3 times and you haven't heard back from them, it would be a good time to put them into a CRM and gently touch them weekly with an email or even a text message until they would tell you to stop, obviously. Something gave them the courage to call you, but something's also holding them back. So you want to make sure you try to address all the different reasons that's keeping them from coming into your location. We find it's a good idea to nurture those patients for at least 6 months. You want to set up a different series of emails to continuously touch them until you figure out what's keeping them from scheduling. You can also call them once a month just to see if maybe connecting with them on the phone was the better option. I would still then send them basic emails talking about just comprehensive dentistry and making sure they have their proper cleanings. When a patient's no longer interested, they can unsubscribe. Major touches the patient has with your practice, for example, if this were an implant patient, would be the initial contact. So they're going to type something into Google like best implant dentist near me. They find your ad. Once they click on the ad, now they call the office. So the initial first touch would be finding your landing page. Something about that striked a chord in them that made them want to reach out and call you. Once they call your office, that's going to be the second touch. Then they're going to have the nice phone call on the phone with your team. You're going to find out they want to come in for dental implants. The patient's motivated, they're ready to go. They're going to now come in your office. The next touch point would be meeting your team. So they're going to meet the initial team member at the front desk. They're going to get handed the paperwork. The front desk team member is going to offer them a beverage, making sure they don't have any questions that they can't answer right there. Then they're going to hand them off to the next touch, which is going to be the dental assistant. The dental assistant's then going to meet them, recap with them everything that they were just told from the front desk. Then they're going to move on to the appointment. Once they're in the back, they're going to go through everything that has to do with a dental implant. They're going to show them the models, their x-rays, take some photographs. The next touch will be meeting the doctor. There needs to be a smooth handoff from the assistant to the doctor so that everybody, again, stays on the same page with this patient, making sure we didn't leave any key detail out that may be important to them for them to choose your office. Now that the doctor is done with his exam, he's going to hand back off to the assistant, and the assistant's going to say, were there any concerns that you may have for me before I take you to the front? And they're either going to ask you more questions because now the doctor's given them a lot more information. And a lot of times patients feel more comfortable talking to the girls in the back or the dental assistants rather than to ask the doctor. Once all the questions have been answered, now we're going to go up to the front and we're going to hand off to the front desk person. And we're going to do, again, a recap. Now, remember, Steve's going to know what I'm going to say to him because we do this all day long, but this is really meant for the patient to hear how in sync we are with each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, Steve, this is Mrs. Smith. We just had an appointment with the doctor. This is everything that we reviewed. She's definitely ready to get scheduled. So our next appointment is going to be for impressions, consent forms, prescriptions, and to schedule her surgery. And then Steve is going to then take the patient. He's going to schedule her next consultation. So that will be the next touch. And then the patient's going to leave. Now the patient's going to come back in a week for their appointment. And now we remember something about Mrs. Smith. So we could say, Mrs. Smith, how was your granddaughter's birthday party? Did everything go well? Because we wrote this down and we knew that's what she was doing this weekend. Now that patient sees another touch. And the patient's going to say, wow, they really care about me. And they remembered. And everybody looks like, and we do care, but it's going to look even better when we write these things down. Now we're going to sit down with Mrs. Smith. We're going to fill out all the consent forms, and we're going to make sure that her pre-op goes completely smooth. Now she's going to get handed back off to the assistant and say this time it's a different one than she met before. We're going to recap again why the patient's here, what the patient's needs are, and make sure that the patient still has a smooth process throughout your office. Once Mrs. Smith is completed with surgery, the best touch you can do, the final touch, would be when she's happy and says, thank you guys so much for taking care of me. I love my implant. It feels great. It looks great. I'm so happy. Now you're going to ask her for a referral because she paid your office a compliment. And you're going to say, Mrs. Smith, the kindest gift you can give us would be to send us all your friends and family who are just like you, because it's been such a pleasure for us to spend time with you. And now, once she leaves, our last final touch that we can give her is send her some type of thank you gift, whether it be a basket thanking her for coming to your office. Maybe she said she loves to eat pistachios and hasn't been able to have them since her tooth's been in pain. So you can just write down all these key factors, send her a goodie basket with some of your cards in there. Maybe you have a custom, what we call a swag bag. So she's going to get business cards and pens and floss and pencils. So this way she can hand them out to her friends. All of these things tie into all the different touches that your practice has with patients. And I can promise you that will go a long way, and they'll be saying your name for years to come. When implementing bonus structures into your practice, it's important to motivate them, but they have to be achievable. One of the great ways to motivate them would be a new patient bonus for your front desk team. So every time they convert a patient to a new patient, you can bonus them as long as it was higher than the previous month. And you could even set up boundaries like we must have 20 new patients in a month, and then you bonus them anything over 20. With your treatment coordinators, a great way to motivate them would be on a 3-month average. So when they close cases and then your production's higher over a 3-month average, you can bonus them. And it has to be whatever would work for you in the practice, because obviously it needs to be a win-win for everyone, but it would be a definite motivator. Whenever you're creating your authority in the community, it's going to be important that you position yourself different than anyone else. You need to find a way to create a reputation that you have the state-of-the-art technology in your community, that you're the doctor that handles all the second opinions. Maybe you're the doctor that has the best lab in town doing all of your dental treatment. Something about you needs to stand out so a patient can gain that trust. They need to see it right from your website. They need to know after watching maybe a few videos on your site, seeing your before and after photo gallery, that you're the person they need to see. It's going to be important that when you're creating a website, you put all of these key factors in mind. You're going to want to stay away from things like stock photos, because patients need to see this is what they had, same thing that I had. Now I need to see this doctor, because if he helped that patient with having a smile like that, they could definitely help me. It is going to be very, very important for you to team up with different authority figures in your community, like Teeth Tomorrow, for instance. When you work with somebody that has a reputation like Teeth Tomorrow and a very important brand, patients know that they can look up Teeth Tomorrow and research a brand that they could trust. And they see that you work for someone like them. They know that they could trust you with their dentistry. When you're trying to reach different audiences based on what you want to do in your practice, it may be beneficial for you to have a commercial spot or to have a spot on the radio. This is where you want to bring in a marketing expert that's able to do different levels of research for you and find out what would work in your area. Some patients like to see a commercial so that they can meet you on their television and then go look you up from your website to find out what you offer. You're going to want to make sure to position yourself no matter what as the expert in your community. That will be super important to leverage yourself by using different verbiage like state-of-the-art facility, highlighting that you do a CT scan and that you've made that standard of care in your practice. Different things like that will be important to attracting all ages to your office. When looking for a marketing company that you can trust, you want to make sure that they're transparent with you. Different ways they are transparent is they send you detailed reporting, letting you know exactly how many calls came in, sharing things like your call rail, your call recordings with you, and having weekly meetings with you so that this way you two are able to fine tune what's working in your practice and what's not working. Ask them how long they've been in business. How many ads do they feel they're going to get you? What budget do you need to work towards? All these things will be factors going into choosing the right companies. Some companies will hold you hostage. They'll make you feel that they have a secret sauce and they can get you more patients than any other company that you'll work with. And I can promise you and guarantee that's not true. We find that those companies that feel that they have a secret sauce are something that you need to say to yourself, what are they hiding? Why aren't they being transparent with me? This is my money. I need to have input on creative and understand why I'm not getting patients or why the patients come in to me not educated. Those are the companies to stay away from. They're never going to be letting you see the reporting. They're not going to let you listen to phone calls. They're not going to let you see what keywords they're using. And they're also not going to let you have creative input on their landing pages. You definitely want to make sure you are given the keys to everything they're doing for your office, because ultimately it's your money. When you're using a marketing company and you're getting paid ad service, whether it's through social media or Google AdWords, you're going to want to do A/B testing. The reason this is important is you want to find out what is intriguing to the patients. Just because we feel if we talk to them in our dental lingo that this page is going to get more landings on it and the patients are going to call you, it might not necessarily be true. Patients sometimes don't want as much information that's going to potentially gross them out or cause more fear. So you're going to want to make sure that you do different things to figure out what works best for your practice. Maybe when patients hear that you charge a certain amount for dental implants and it's listed on the page, that may turn them away because you didn't create the value for those services. So doing A/B testing is always going to be critical. Whenever you're trying to stand out on social media, you want to make sure that you have someone at least post every other day, even if it's just a quick picture or even a blog post, just educating patients on what you're able to do for them. Other ideas that we could provide you for using social media would be having either yourself or one of the team members record the doctor talking about different cases that you offer in your practice. I would potentially start with the ones that are important to you and the ones that you want to do, and just sit down and make a 2-minute video and explain to patients the benefits of having dental implants, the benefits of fixing their smile, how that you could do a non-surgical facelift by just replacing their old teeth with new veneers, with new crowns. Something that always makes your office stay at the top of the Google search is what's going to be an important factor to get you new patients. One of the easiest ways to get new patients into your practice is using Google AdWords. What you're going to want to make sure is the language that you're speaking on your ad has to match your website. Everything has to flow the same way because a patient wants to be able to know right away if they're looking for a dental implant, you want to service them directly to that page on your website when they click that Google ad. If you would take them to your main page, you could potentially lose the patient because you didn't give them what they asked for right off of the click. You also want to have a call to action on that page so they know they could either call you now, schedule a virtual consultation, or fill out a form to reach your office immediately. You could use things like Facebook, Instagram, or even Pinterest. And what you're going to do is the same ads that you would put possibly on Google AdWords, you could put on Facebook. What you can ask the patient would be, if you're looking for a second opinion for dental implants, click here, call now, watch the video. Any of those different options would start giving you a presence on social media and also on Google. It's very important to make sure that the patients get something out of this information, whether it be a video or it's going to be a story. So before and after pictures with a patient testimonial would be a key way to get new business into your practice. When you talk about different ways to market your practice, I feel that every community will be different. Some communities will work better with radio, some are going to work better with Google AdWords, and some may work better with TV. You really need to test and measure to figure out what works best in your community. It is very important that you are in front of those patients wherever they are. So if your patients are going to be on Pinterest looking at recipes, but they already were looking for dental implants earlier, you want to make sure your ad gets serviced on Pinterest. Some patients are going to be on Facebook, and we know that it's now generational to be still on Facebook. Some patients you'll find on Instagram. Some are now going to, believe it or not, be on Snapchat. Wherever they are, you want to make sure that they get that same TV experience, but from a video, from a retargeted ad. Marketing companies that we use today have ways to find these patients and make sure to service them the ads they're looking for right in front of them in the palm of their hand. Thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Connect with me at your earliest convenience so we could set up a meeting and have a discovery call and figure out what would work best for your office.